Yeah. Real quick. Are we okay to go? Yeah. I actually, I haven't thought about that in a long time. Yeah. Actually, what does art mean to me? I think if you would have asked me, if you would have asked me this question maybe 2-3 years ago, I would have had an answer for it. I feel like back then I really knew what I thought art means to me. I don't know anymore, I think. I know that I like it and that it's important to me. But I don't really know why or what part of it is important to me, you know? Cause I don't enjoy it that much anymore. I just do it. I just kind of do it because that's what I do. But I don't know. I guess in the broadest terms, I think it means freedom to me. And I think that's very important to me. The idea of being free and being able to kind of do what I want to do when I want to do. I think that's very important to me, and I think art is kind of the only aspect of life that allows me to live in such a freedom, I guess. I guess that's it, I think. Art means freedom to me. Yeah, I've been doing it. I've been doing art. I've been doing art seriously, I guess. Conservatively speaking, 8 years. I started very young, being very serious about art, and being thinking of it. I'm thinking of it as this important thing, and it's important, and it has to be good, and there's there's good art and there's bad art, and everyone says that it isn't true, and says it's all about perspective and stuff. I was yeah, you're dumb, you don't get it. I feel I was a lot more aggressive with my opinions on art back then than I am now. But yeah, I think I started 8 years ago. Back then I was really into fashion. I painted back then too. And it was kind of you could kind of see that I was coming from a drawing painting background, because my sketches were especially in the beginning, my sketches were really elaborate. There was always a lot going on, and I was doing backgrounds and stuff, just kind of unnecessary stuff for a fashion sketch. But yeah, I started doing fashion and designing and sewing clothes. And I did that for a couple of years. I think I started in 2013 around, making my own brand. And then in 2015 or 2016, I did my first fashion show. And did 8 of them. I think it was 8. I kind of lost count because I did like my own stuff and I did small stuff for other people, but I think it was 8 shows altogether. The last one in August of 2021. And after that, I was like, yeah, I'm done with doing fashion. I think I stopped doing like designing and stuff, because I kind of got bored of it. I think fashion has a very, like, how good you can become at fashion is like very limited. There's like, it's not a glass ceiling you can break through like in other art forms or careers. I think in fashion it's like a very fixed ceiling that like you can't break, and that confines fashion like a very, I don't want to say boring, but in a very like, in a very, in a very, I don't know, I guess uninteresting, in a very interesting space, because you start off doing fashion and everything is like cool and fun and new, but as soon as you like reach a certain threshold, you start to realize that there's not that much more you can do. And when you get to that point, you just plateau and just do stuff to like feed your ego. And I kind of got to the point where I had to get to, where I was like, where I was doing exactly what I wanted to, and I didn't think anyone could do what I did better. Obviously, I could have like, I could have like learned certain skills, more skills and stuff, and become a better craftsman. But what I wanted to do and what I did creatively was like kind of in the top space for what I did. So I decided to stop, because at that point, if I would have done more, I would have just done it to feed my own ego, to like do bigger shows so that people can tell me how great I was. And I didn't want that. And I wouldn't have believed that either. So I thought it was the best thing to just quit and quote unquote retire. But yeah. Yeah, like writing I did. Writing was always like a huge part. I think also like when I'm painting, when I paint, I think a lot about writing and like about the structures I used for like poetry and like stories and stuff. It influences my paintings a lot. I feel like everything I paint is like, every character I paint is kind of like a character of a short story or of a poem of mine. So they all have their own backstories and their own motivations and stuff, and it kind of allows me to paint things that seem more alive, I guess, because I don't just like put them on canvas and then they're there and they're existing. I give them a whole life they lived and the whole future they try to navigate, I guess. Yeah, I don't. I think one of the biggest mistakes not a mistake, I guess what I regret from time to time is that I kind of paint and write too much for myself. it's obviously good to like do what you want to do, but at a certain point you also have to take care of the people around you and your audience and do like things for them. It's not gonna be totally foreign thing, but I feel like at a lot of points I paint things and write things that are kind of too personal. That might be like cool and interesting to look at, but aren't like really connecting with people, because it's a very selfish endeavor. And obviously I like doing these things because it's this very authentic thing that's just for me, and yeah. But I think I kind of learned, and I'm still trying to learn more about it, to like do things that are also for other people, or for us both, I guess. I think a lot of the more quote-unquote political stuff is kind of something that's more for me. Not because like I don't think anyone has like the same political views than I have, but it's just because they're not special. It's just I think sometimes I attack like politics from like such a specific corner that is a hard thing for other people to relate. Yeah, I think I think all of my paintings are, because all of my paintings are kind of self-portraits, like autobiographical and stuff. I don't really know how to like do something or write or paint something that isn't very close to me. I kind of need to like I need to feel a certain connection to something to express it into an art form. If I don't care at all, it's gonna be pretty hard for me to paint it or to write about it. But that's maybe because I'm not that good of an artist. I feel like better artists are like, they just get it, they just can't do this kind of type of stuff very easily. That's why I never could or like wanted to do commissions, because there's no way I can care enough about it. Something like that random. Yeah. But I also think kind of that's how most artists work. I think most artists, in a very broad sense, do like exclusively self-portraits. Not in the sense that they all like depict themselves how they look, but I think a big part of art is that artists like share their perspectives on the world. So they show their own very personal view of how they see certain things, and I think that in itself is kind of a self-portrait, because it's like this unique thing that only like this person could think of or could create. But yeah, like I said, it's all kind of paintings of like people that resemble me in like spirit or in looks. I think that's the most interesting thing for me. I don't think there's much for me to be learned in the outside world before I kind of truly know who I am. And I think I do know pretty well who I am. I'm a fairly introspective person. But there's a lot of times where I do or say stuff and I'm like, I wonder where that came from. And then I'm like, there's more to be figured out. And I also think I kind of owe it to the people around me to figure out exactly who I am, because how can I judge people for not understanding me if I don't have like this kind of deep understanding of who I am. I spend a fair amount of time alone for sure. Back when I did the fashion stuff and I had a bigger studio in the city. It was like a very big space. I was very lucky. And I had friends come through all the time. It was like an open door policy and people were coming and going the entire time. And that was very cool. I like that very much because at that point specifically, maybe now still, I was very afraid of being alone. And I think that kind of what drove me to do more and more of these fashion shows, because as long as I did shows, these people, my friends, would hang out with me. And I was afraid that if I stopped doing shows, they would stop texting me or hang out with me. And after the last couple of shows, after it all finished and I didn't have the studio anymore, and I kind of put my studio in the basement to paint and write, and I stopped doing shows, most of the very same people kind of stopped coming around and hanging up and checking up. So I guess what I feared back then was kind of reality, but on the same level, I kind of learned how to, I don't want to make this a sad thing. I kind of enjoy being alone now. I think there's such certain peace about it. Yeah, I think I do that now. It's just funny that I was so afraid of what happens if I stop doing shows. I think all these people are gonna stop coming and hanging around, and then that exactly happened. So I think it's important. I think it's kind of important to for me at least, it's important to write stuff down. If it's just random thoughts or ideas for something to write or paint about, I think it's fairly important because I kind of had to teach myself that my thoughts also have value, and if they have value, they're also worth writing on paper, or in a little notebook. I think that's something I had to teach myself along the way. It's something, and obviously not everything you write in this notebook is gonna be gold or worth something or be really good, but I think in the end it's kind of I think it's a cool thing to do, especially to like look back in a couple of years and like see how you thought about things. I think that's always very interesting. Yeah, I don't actually. It's funny because I get what, yeah. I don't know what I want, what I want to achieve, I guess, in the end. I know I have my first gallery show in a couple of months. I'm like excited for that. I think that's a very cool thing I can do. I guess like I want to like focus on like doing more work and like put a lot of care in it. Make it like as personal and as authentic as I can. Like I want it to be I just want to care about everything I do very deeply, and I hope I can like at least keep the amount of care about my work that I have now, and in the best case scenario I can care even more about it. I think I would like that very much. You know, sometimes I do think about it. Sometimes I do think if I kind of work too much, it's interesting because it's like, but I also think you would only say that because I don't really make money in it. I'm kind of like working into an abyss of sorts because I'm doing like all this stuff and I don't really get away from my starting point. But I definitely like sometimes feel like I should kind of walk away from my working things from time to time. I don't know if I have. I don't really know if I have a place in the art world. I kind of look at myself as definitely like an artist and like I produce art and stuff, but I kind of see myself as someone who's like away from the whole thing. I kind of am from the outside looking in, even though my workplace is on the inside. I don't really like jive with the people in the art world, like no matter on like what level they are. I always kind of butt heads with them. So yeah, I don't really think of myself as part of the art world. Yeah, maybe. I can't really see myself, I can't really see like that changing. I don't really know what would happen, what would have to happen with me or the art world and generally that I'm like, feel closer to it. But yeah, I don't really think that's a thing that's gonna happen. Yeah, in general, I'm just very. Obviously, I have all these thoughts when I'm working where I wanted to make these things like super honest and authentic and stuff. But also, I also just want to make cool stuff. Like, I want to look at it and be like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's kind of important to me. that I can like look back at my last 20 pieces and be like, oh, all right, maybe I don't didn't like bring this point across as good as I would be able now. But if I look back at it, it's a cool thing. I think that's very important to me. I don't think there really is like, I don't think there is something bad about being a more style over substance artist. I think I figured out a pretty nice balance between the two. But I know like a bunch of people that do stuff that's way more stylistic and stuff. And I think it's very cool. I think in a lot of ways it's way harder to do that because you have to shut that part of your brain out. Like, I don't think I could do something that's like entirely stylistic and just aesthetically cool because I would have like to shut certain brains because I would have to shut off certain parts of my brain that like tell me to like say this or make a reference to this, and I don't actually know if I could do that. So I have like huge respect for like people that like can like do these just like aesthetic things, these highly stylized pieces. It's art, art for art's sake. I think that's very impressive. Yeah, I don't mind political art at all. I think it has a lot of cool parts in it. Like I said before, like some of my stuff is gets like kind of political in like certain aspects. But all in all, it's you can't forget the part of it that's supposed to be art. You can't just like make a political statement and think like it's art because you kind of dressed it up as such. Yeah, I think the most that I learned about myself, I learned while painting. And I think it taught me a lot about how how I perceive the world. There were like certain things that I wasn't aware of, like that I see things in that specific way that I only figured out once I started painting and I wanted to paint like a person I knew, and I was like, oh, that's how I see this person. I see them as like this and this. And I think it was like this with a lot of things, and especially when I go like on more literal self-portraits. In more literal self-portraits, I saw that a lot. It kind of allowed me to like shut my mind off in a weird way. It kind of didn't allow me to shut my mind off. It kind of allowed me to like go around my consciousness and kind of paint with my subconsciousness only. So I was able to see me from like this whole different perspective that was also me. And I don't think I would have been able to like see me in such a way if it wasn't for like painting. Maybe in writing I would have been able to do that, but for sure not without painting. Yeah, there are for sure things I want to like see in the next couple of years in the future. There's like a whole bunch of stuff I'm very interested in, but I don't know if I don't know if I'm really gonna make it. I don't know if I'm really gonna make it to this part. There are certain things where I'm like excited, like seeing my friends like grow older, like doing more shows. Seeing my friends like having kids and stuff, that's all like very cool and interesting to me. But at the same time, I also like feel stuck in this thing. And I don't know if I'm gonna be able to, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to like feel completely comfortable in this thing, or if I'm gonna be able to escape this thing before it's too late. So I don't actually know. So I don't know what's gonna happen, or if I want to, or if I like really want to be around in a couple of years. But in the meantime, I'm for sure gonna produce like a lot more stuff that I hopefully care about deeply. I think that's an important thing that many artists kind of forget. They get into art and think about it, but they kind of forget to like really care. Because it's easier to like shut things off and not care about anything and just like write things out your own way and kind of say fuck off to everything. But I think it's very important to like care, especially as an artist. You should care about anyone and anything at all times. That's also what's gonna drive you insane. But it's also what's gonna make your art that much more meaningful and beautiful. I think that's the important part. That's the important part. I don't want to get to a point where I don't care anymore. No hope, yeah. Yeah, man.